What is up? I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. It's Thursday, July 27th, and this Swingers Off. What's up, man?
Do I have to talk on this one? I think I do, don't I?
You do have to talk some. You can't just sit there awkwardly. I mean, you could, but it's going to make for an awkward show on my end.
Let's not do that. Okay. What's up,
Where
man?
are you? Tell the people where you're at.
Yeah, live at Saratoga at the
There you
Embassy
go.
Suites right now. So, we're having a good time. Got into town, I don't know, hour and a half ago. And, it's good to be here. One of the races Friday and Saturday here at Saratoga. So it's going to be a fun day for sure, or fun 2 days. But, always nice when you drive into town and you're like, all right, sweet. We made it. After driving 20 hours, we're here. So that's always a good feeling.
It's funny how you can feel it, like
Yes.
whenever, even like when you get close to that, if you're driving or if you're flying, you can just feel it when you get there. Like, okay, we're here. It's time to go now. So I'll be flying in Wednesday. Y'all be picking me up, and then it's game on from there. I got the Whitney next week, Friday, Saturday, the dudes. You'll be there. Are you gonna be there tomorrow, Friday and Saturday?
Yep, I'll be there tomorrow and I'll be there Saturday. So both days. I'm not sure where exactly we'll be. I'm sure Paddock Bar for a lot of the races. I'll be there right there at that Paddock Bar for sure. But going both days. Depending on what's running Sunday, I'll be honest, I haven't looked at Sunday just yet. I got through Saturday. I'm not quite sure I'll be there Sunday or not, but definitely Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, Kevin. I did look a little younger with the beard shave, and yes, we make sure you reach out or whatever. And we'll meet together. Basically, just look for the dudes in the Paddock Bar anytime that's kind of like if you're ever like wondering, and this goes to anybody, like, hey. And if you don't see us, chances are we're not there. But you stay for like one race solid. If you don't see us, we're not there. But otherwise, we spend a good chunk of time there.
This is true. Yeah, we should be there. If you go 2 races and we're not there, then we're not at Saratoga that day. So, but yeah, it's going to be a blast. You're right. The town totally has a vibe to it. We were sitting down having a drink just a minute ago, and it's like, yeah, this is just like a different world when you come in here, and I don't know, maybe it's not for everybody, but for me, this is the greatest place on earth. I just love coming here. Like I said, it's a vibe. It's its own thing. It's a very unique place. I love the racetrack. Don't get me wrong. That's why we're here. But this town in general is just really, really cool.
Yeah, and I don't want to get really like into all of it, but it's like I don't feel like I need to go to all the tracks like we used to. Like it just feels like when you've seen them all. There's certain tracks that you're like, okay, I've been to Gulfstream, like unless like someone crazy is running, otherwise. But when it comes to Saratoga, it's like, okay, you go ahead and look the next year. Name me 2 or 3 weekends that I'm for sure going. I don't know who's racing, who's running, what the race will be, whatever. Like it just has, and you're right. It is a track, obviously, but it's the town itself. It's the vibe. It's the fact that we have a lot of friends there now, family and things like that. So it's just the whole trip in itself. I mean, look, I'm coming in on Wednesday. We're making a trip out of it. It's not like we're just going to Saratoga. We're gonna peruse around the area, and I'm kind of looking forward to it because anytime I've ever been up there, it's always racing, drinking, and then go home. But now I get to see where the wife was, your wife, I should say, is from, and you're gonna take me to Lake Placid, I heard. So I'm excited.
Yeah, you're going to get the true North Country vacation. That's what I told you. You're going to go to Burlington. You're going to Plattsburgh, Lake Placid. We're going to keep you away from the track for a couple days, and then obviously end up here at Saratoga. So it's going to be a really good time for you to see that. And yeah, I mean, there's a ton of cool stuff up here that I never realized existed up here. For sure, you're going to see some of us. Yeah, but I mean, look, this is it, right? I mean, this is the big time up here down here at Saratoga. I mean, it's like I said, just walking in this town, it's like, yeah, I'm home. I'm back home. That's how it feels like now. We've been here so many times. And, of course, Heather's living an hour and a half away from here, growing up away from here it feels like home now. We've been up here so much. And yeah, this is heaven up here. This 6, I guess 7 weeks now. There's not much like it.
Yeah, Phil, the Bowling Green came out not too long ago, so we'll talk about it a little bit. We'll give our final picks just because we've been handicapping Friday and Saturday's cards, but yeah, we'll definitely take a look at the Bowling Green here later in rapid fire. Obviously, a huge weekend with the Jim Dandy coming up, and while it didn't draw a huge field, that's kind of been the you're off Twitter, but that's kind of been the as you might expect, the issue with the Jim Dandy, only 5 horses. And but you got a pretty solid 5, and you go back a week and you had a Haskell and you had a pretty solid group there as well. And dude, I know I'm gonna go the under Magic. I saw it on Magic Mike. I'm definitely going under 18 minutes. My boy Go Rocket Ride wins the Haskell. At what were these final odds? 13-1, 11-1. I don't remember what he ended up going off with. But we were sitting there. You and I were doing the live show on Saturday afternoon, and we both were we kept on going back to it. Like, how is he not getting bet? How is Tappet Trice, 5-1, and this guy's not getting bet at all? And man, he ran a huge race.
Oh yeah, he was awesome in that race, and it was interesting that it was a very slow time for the Haskell compared to other years, and it was also interesting the buyer was 100 because visually it looked a lot better than that. I thought he was in some big trouble when Mage started making that move, and then all of a sudden he's put Mage away. So yeah, he ran huge, and he deserves to be right up there, amongst the top group. He's going to have to win again, obviously. I saw today where he's probably not going to the Pacific Classic. That hurts him a little bit as far as resume is concerned, but as far as the Haskell goes, he was fantastic. He ran the type of race I thought he would. My big mistake in the Haskell is I thought Arabian Night would run an even better race than that, and he did not. But Go Rocket Ride showed up and did exactly what I kind of thought he would do, and Arabian Night did not.
Well, Arabian Lion probably would have ran better than Arabian Night.
I would assume so. Yes.
He couldn't have ran much worse. I know a lot of people were critical of us being critical of that him, and it's just like it's like, oh, his first race in 6 months, and he'll get better from that. He still held on for third, and it's like all those are true, and I do expect that he will run better next out. It's just when Bob Baffert ships a horse to the Haskell, you expect him to run really well, and if you flip flop Mage and Arabian Night, I don't think I think we're both sitting there thinking, wow, he ran well. It just, Go Rocket Ride. Like he ran a great race, but he was a distant third.
I'm going to simplify this. I didn't know people were giving a static about this. I'm going to make this very simple. When you are the most likely winner in the race, when you are a 4-5 favorite, and you finish a non-threatening, no chance, you never thought he was going to win third, you're disappointing. Period. There isn't a debate after that, right?
Yeah.
He was 4-5, and he was beaten 5 1/4, and he never at any point in the race he was going to win. Never at any point in the stretch did you think he was going to win. How was that anything but disappointing? I did see Michael Austin, whatever, he was like, how are you guys saying he's disappointing? Michael Austin was in the chat, and I'm not picking on him. There's a lot of people, including myself, was in the chat the week of the race saying he is the most likely winner. Okay, when the most likely winner is a non-threatening third, that is disappointing. Period. Yeah. There isn't really a debate in my mind on that.
Yeah, again, I already said it, but it just feels like if he runs the Mage race, you aren't the most likely winner. He ran a nice race, but like you said, like other than like the first part of the race where you felt like he was in a perfect spot, there was never a part of that race where you felt like, okay, he's going to win. He's going to be, because you went from being, you and I both had a very similar exact in that race where we did have Arabian Night on top, and we had Go Rocket Ride in second, and it was like, okay, that first split second, we thought, okay, we're going to hit this because Go Rocket Ride is doing his thing, and Arabian Night, he's about to do his, and then real quickly from that thought, you thought, oh no, we're not going to hit this because Arabian Night is done, and he was, and so past that, Halterman, I mean, I think Mage is kind of what we thought he was, maybe like what you and I talked about on Blinkers Off last week about maybe he is really good, but just he's not like the Derby, what we saw in the Derby good. Mm-hmm. I thought he ran a good race. I think Go Rocket Ride kind of proved to be a legit horse, and it's kind of a shame we didn't get to see him, San Antonio Derby, Kentucky Derby, that kind of thing. But um, the rest of the field, just I don't know how much behind. I guess you can go behind Arabian Night because we'll give him the benefit of the doubt going one more time. But behind him, man, I like Tappa Trice, awful.
Yeah.
I mean, he is beyond bad at this point.
Well, the Arabian Night, just kind of rounded up. It's really, believe me, it's okay to say Arabian Night was disappointing, but I still don't hate Arabian Night going forward, right?
Yeah.
Like, both things are true. He was disappointing in the Haskell. He may be okay going forward, okay? Yeah, Extra Nejo didn't break very well. I think he's the other one you don't draw a line through because he still didn't have a ton, but that was not what he wanted to do. That was not his trip, right? So I think with Extra Nejo, you kind of draw a line through him, but there's no doubt there was really only two horses that ran up to the standards that we had set for them, and that was Mage and Go Rocket Ride. Mage was fine. He'll be fine going forward. I don't think he's Kentucky Derby Mage. I think that was the aberration, and he is what he is in all those other races, which is damn good, but not like an elite type. And I think that's where he's at right now.
Yeah, that's fair. I think it's probably a better way to put it. Like, Extra Nejo to me is he deserves another chance, but in the same regard, I don't think he is like who a lot of us thought, myself included, thought he might be, like this all other world horse that if he just would have stayed healthy, it would have been, I don't think he's that. Okay. Because I do think, like, even with a bad break, a horse that is that caliber, runs a huge race. And I just don't think he is that. Now, is he good? Can he win a race down the road? Like I don't think that's out of the question at all. Especially considering who trains him, but I don't think and I think it's all a little bit, I saw a comment, I don't know where it went now. Yeah, Kevin, it's kind of like a little bit like in the eye of the beholder. It's like if you were against Arabian Night, maybe you thought, well, maybe it was okay because he ran third and he was better, so it's like, but for people that bet him, and maybe that's the same way with a lot of these other horses. If you didn't like Tappa Trice, well, he ran like that. If you really liked him, then obviously you think he's trash. I don't know what you do with Tappa Trice. I think he should be like $1 million gelding at this point. But he never even. I think you said it on Magic Mike or something. I don't know. He never even got a call in the race. Like, you wouldn't even known he was in the race.
No,
one.
He didn't fire. He didn't fire any kind of effort. I mean, he's better than that for sure. But he's just. I'm with you. Like, I don't really know what you do with him. He's expensive. He's grade 1 winner, so he's probably going to be a sire at some point. You're probably just running out the rest of his career, hoping that he jumps up and runs a big race somewhere. I don't think you put him in the Travers, that's for sure. And yeah, the Travers kind of the barometer. So you look at like an Extra Nejo, it's like, can he go to the Travers and win? Doesn't seem it, right? Like, really, the only two you would think could compete in the Travers were the top two finishers. But I mean, a lot of them aren't going from the Haskell. That's the other thing. I think Mage and Extra Nejo might be the only two in the Travers that we see from the Haskell. So there's a downer there as well. I mean, the Go Rocket Ride thing sounds like he's going shared belief. I mean, that's not exciting for a horse racing standpoint,
Well, and I think it's kind of weird too, right? Like, I don't know, like, for a guy that had him in fantasy league and felt like, you barely got any races out of him. It's like, it's a little concerning when it's like straight out of it. It's like, okay, we'll probably go to the Pacific Classic. You're thinking, oh, that's a big, that's huge. Pacific Classic into the Classic. And now it's completely diverted down to maybe it's a shared belief now. He was a little tired. And now it's like, well, when are we going to see, will we see him in shared belief? You know what I mean? Like, it's just that little subtle sign with him, with a horse like him, especially, that kind of at least gives you pause.
Oh, absolutely. And listen, Mandel is very, very conservative. That's the other thing about it. That's why him shipping them on was the big key, right? But he's not going to leave California. That is like 100%. It's not going to happen. And again, I should say, and well, maybe they go Pennsylvania Derby, but I doubt it. But he's very conservative. He's not gonna do a Baffert and be like, here's the plan and this is what we're gonna do. He's gonna run a race And then they're going to go, okay, how's he doing? Okay, he's either doing good or not as good, and now we'll plan the next one. So to run in the Pacific Classic, you've got to be really, really good. Right now, as a three, you got to be doing great. And like I read the article. It's just like, well, he's tired. Well, you're probably not going to run in that race if you're a little tired.
Yeah, I mean, and he shut it down real quick the day after, like even before like they reverted or diverted the plans a little bit from the Pacific Classic. He was like, "Yeah, we're not going to the Travers. Like, it's not going to make sense for us to come back to California, then go back to Saratoga." So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think we're going to see him again out of the state of California, at least this year. I'd be shocked, really.
I'd be shocked if he ever leaves the state again.
Which is going to be, if you say worst case, well, that's not worst case. Close to the worst case scenario for us bettors could be we don't see he runs in the shared belief, and maybe it's like sort of impressive, but nothing, like you say, like he doesn't beat much and whatever, and maybe he doesn't run again to the Classic, and then it becomes a big time betting situation where you're like, what do I even do with this horse? Because maybe he is really good, but we haven't seen him enough. In the Haskell win, is that enough to give you confidence that he is the pick to win if you want to pick a 3-year-old to win the Classic?
If he goes shared belief Classic, you bet him. That's how I feel about it. I just don't think there's going to be enough there to where you're going to go, hey, I think he's going to win, unless we fall apart from an older horse division, which we're close. If Cody's Wish loses, we may fall apart completely from an older horse division. So to me, it's like you got to see him, run a big race other than the Haskell between now and the Classic, right? So, and maybe it's the Awesome Beginning against older horses at Santa Anita. That's possible as well.
Well, speaking of at least the 3-year-olds, and we'll see if this 3-year-old division, if he stands atop of that after this weekend, or if a horse named Forte wants to say, you know what, don't forget about me. Maybe I'm the top 3-year-old that could win the Classic. That's this weekend. We will give picks and preview the Saturday's $500,000 Jim Dandy Stakes at Saratoga. Halterman will be there live. Then we're going to get some rapid fire selections from some of the remaining stakes races this weekend at Saratoga and Del Mar, including the $400,000 Bing Crosby Stakes at Del Mar. It's a Breeders' Cup winning you're in for the Breeders' Cup Qatar Racing Sprint. Let's go. Man, those Del Mar races they may not have like the winners of the Breeders' Cup race, or if you're talking about the San Diego, you want to throw that in there for the Classic.
Mm-hmm.
But they are challenging races to handicap.
Oh, absolutely. Del Mar has been it's been awesome. There's no way around. The betting at Del Mar is amazing. And like right before we got on the show, I had a pick at Del Mar, I think for $1. It paid almost $120. And that's why I tell people, it's like, look, you're not going to hit every pick 3 at Del Mar. You don't have to. You don't need to. You just need to hit one. and that's the beauty of that track right now. And it just continues to give. And again, like, it wasn't some complicated pick 3. It was logical horses at decent prices that were winning.
It's one of the it's a fun track, but it's we saw it last weekend. But man, it's just with those big fields, they're fun to watch and they're fun to bet, but they are tough. They're tough to hit, and sometimes the sequences that you want to get a little creative in, you don't need to. The favorite, that horse. What was the horse's name that won? Was it Saturday? I think the turf race. The
one I can't.
Yeah, the one I picked on the show.
Yeah, the 3 horse.
That was a really nice looking horse.
Yeah.
And one of those where it's like this huge field and you really don't have to overthink it. In other times you look back on the ocean side and you're like, you might as well throw a dart. It was that kind of race.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Oceanside was the race. I went short in opening day and it killed me, but 4 out of 5. So I had to miss that single with a horse that it was in my top 4, but I had to go show it somewhere,
Yeah, Eddie. That was. Listen. Yeah. He not only did he say that, but like not only was that a true stat, but I mean, just what he was saying going into the race made you at least know that hey, he's not like he thinks a lot of this horse. He didn't bring this horse over to run like just running the Haskell. He thinks this horse can win, and You know, he's not one of those, like you said, Ultraman. He's not one that's, overly, uh, like he's a super conservative trainer. But two, when he starts talking about a horse like that, you listen, and he was talking about that horse, which is a big reason why I claimed him in the fantasy league back in February or March, whenever it was, because like he was talking really highly of the horse, right? And they went right from that maiden into the stakes race, and you're thinking, oh, this is, he obviously thinks a lot of this horse, and so from the get go, they've had a high intent, high hopes for Go Rocket Ride.
Well, and Eddie, I'm the dumbest person in the world because I used him in all kinds of doubles and all kinds of exactas, and I used him in so many bets it's not even funny, and didn't connect. And when I'm sitting there and it's 12-1, and it's like, all you had to do, you dummy, was bet a win. How dumb are you?
Yeah.
I'm talking to me, myself, not you, Eddie. But just to be clear, but yeah, I
Eddie,
had so many double probable would have, broke the bank. It's not even funny, and none of them came in. So it was just. I've had a lot of people say, "Hey, it's for that Haskell video," and I myself didn't cash on that. But I just really, really feel stupid for the happened to Haskell, but that's part of racing as well.
Look at this. All right, so this is a good question. Thanks by the way for the.
Yeah, thank you.
And he also asked to you. So I'm new to horse racing, or new to horse betting, but not sports wagering. I really enjoy your channel, but I'm a little discouraged with horse betting so far. But should I stick with it? And he also adds, I wish there was a larger community. Seems like sports betting is more socially acceptable. People look down upon horse betting. In my opinion, I live in the Chicago area. Any thoughts? I think we have a lot of thoughts on that.
Well, the second thing first, yeah, you're going to get looked down on. It's not a popular sport. We live in Missouri, and most people have no idea what it is. So I don't care about that. But if you are a person that cares about what people think of you, you make it out of the sport. As far as are you discouraged? Here's what you have to realize. To win in sports, you need to hit about 55, 58% of the time to beat the VIG and everything like that. So that's, you're going to win a lot more in sports than you are in horses. Horses, we're sitting here talking about it. I may hit 1 pick 3 today at Del Mar and make money. So horse racing is much more discouraging to bet. Much more. Not even close. Because you're going to miss a lot more than you hit. You got to go into it with an attitude. If you don't, it's probably not for you, to be blunt about it. If you hit 30% winners, you're doing really, really well. And that's just betting wins. That's not adding in exotics.
I mean, look at, let me pull up mine just for reference. See if it's up here. Best bets. Yeah. 47 and 64 is my current win loss.
Mm-hmm.
But you go down, and this is coming from a guy, it stops right here. But I think what I tell you, I was like 2 for 11 at one point in the last stretch there. I think I hit 2 winners. Again, and one of and it was only one was a horse bet. The other one was baseball. And then you go back and look, and today, especially last 2 days, but I've had a $650 winner, $175 winner today at Saratoga. And so, and listen, we're not, we're not like the outsiders. We're not the ones like saying, hey, we win everything. Like, no, trust me. We have some heart to hearts all the time. It's like, man, this is so frustrating. Like, we had it last week after the Haskell. It's just like, man, like it's just that kind of sport. But like, as I can say, is like, you have to stick with it if you want to play it, and you have to know that, like, hey, one, you don't need to bet every sport or every game or every race, and two, like sports, it's like you might have 4 or 5 games going at a time. You don't need to do that in horse racing. Pick your spots. Find what the positive EV situations, look at those will pays, things like that. And when it makes sense, play it. And if you play consistently and you play the right, you don't divert, like you keep consistent how you bet, you will have success with it. But it comes with a lot of frustration. Lots.
Well, I mean, you sometimes, if you go a while and you miss exotics and you're getting upset, you just back up to a win, kind of keep it simple, get your feet back under you again, and then go back to the exotics, But yeah, we all get frustrated. if you would have seen us after the Haskell show on Saturday, you'd be go, oh yeah, these guys get frustrated too. We were beyond frustrated. That's of it, because you're going to miss a lot of a lot of races. It's just that's just the way it is. That's a harsh reality of horse racing. You're going to miss a lot of bets.
It's like one of those things where you feel like you do the exact same thing every day in, day in, day out, or whatever. And some days you have wild success, and you're thinking, "Gosh, I could hit anything. Give me a form, and I'll pick you a winner." And then like doing the exact same thing tomorrow, you couldn't pick a one horse race. It's that kind of sport where I feel like sometimes in sports, especially sports betting, you can get kind of a good vibe off a team or whatever, and start to like really play that team and have success with it. Horse racing's tough. It's a little different.
And I mean, we may have an example on the air, because the 11 just won at 9-1 at Del Mar, had it in the pick 5. I'm 3 for 3, but it could be and in this next hour, no, seriously, 357. We could be looking at a couple thousand, or we could be looking at a total loss. So, but this is the thing: you got to set yourself up for those kind of scores. We talked about it. Jared and I talked about it personally after. It's like, look, you got to set yourself up for those scores, and then they have to come through. You cannot control what the horses do, but you can control who you play and what bets you make to set yourself up for the most profit. So that's what you got to do. And then they either come through or they don't, right? To me, there's a sure single in the next leg of this thing at Del Mar. If the horse runs well, it'll win. But you can't control if that horse will show up and run well. And that is the thing. You've got to have that kind of attitude of, I'm going to put myself in positions, the best positions I think possible, and then we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and that, not to keep harping on it, but that to me is the hardest over the last couple of weeks, where I've been kind of, I'd say, more cold than hot. It's just been like, I feel like I've been like, oh, I'm alive for $1,000 score. Oh, I'm alive for a $1,500 score. Or I'm alive to whatever. And it's like, I can't hit any of them. Like, I feel like I was putting myself in all these good positions and getting nothing out of it, and it becomes extremely frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when the next race where you're like, I like that horse, but I'm not going to play it, and the horse wins. And so it's just a very frustrating. You can't chase it. You got to just keep going. He says he wants to know if it's best to start wagering only on graded stakes races, or just pick one track or meet at a time.
I certainly would probably stick with a meet. I think that's better than just, hey, I'm going to pick out the graded sixes. So for me, when I started, it was Oaklawn Park, Prairie Meadows, and Remington, because those were the 3 tracks that were closest to my house. Okay. So I learn, and as I see, okay, what tracks are best for me, Saratoga and Del Mar are the 2 right now that I'm following. So I'm more than one, but if you're a beginner, just following Saratoga or Del Mar makes a ton of sense. And go about it that way, and just who are the jockeys, who are the trainers, what are the patterns, and totally immerse yourself in that. That is how I would start. And then I would branch out from there if you feel the need to do that, right? But I think sticking to the one meet, becoming a quote unquote expert at that meet is what makes sense to me for a beginner.
Yeah, for example, considering the time of the year we were in, I would say just play Saratoga. Just play Saratoga. And not like, look at me, like, when I started years ago, it was like, obviously I was playing Oaklawn, but then I'll play every race, but I like graded stakes races and better. Mm-hmm. Those are my favorite, because I just tend to gravitate towards the better horses. I feel like you can count on those horses a little bit more. So I tend to gravitate those. So you can even go even further. You say, I'm just going to, study Saratoga. And then maybe you, on the other hand, you really enjoy claiming races. You get a good feel for them. You like whatever. So it's like, start with the meet, and then you can kind of hone in from there. Maybe there's a certain angle you like, and then, maybe a certain trainer you like who tends to run a lot of graded stakes or maybe claiming races or whatever. And then you can get a good feel for it. There's no perfect way to do it. It's all about what you're comfortable with, what you like. because that's the other part. You know, you got to enjoy it. At least, you know, when you're handicapping the form all day or whatever, however you use it, you got to be able to enjoy what you're doing and then not to sit there and feel like, man, I got to look at 1000, you know, uh, claiming races, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yep.
that's how I
Yep.
feel sometimes when I'm looking over at, look at this. Just pick Linda Rice horses. That's true.
But
Pick Linda Rice and Doug O'Neill if you're playing Del Mar.
right there, that comment tells me you're paying attention, right? So that's good. You picked up on it already.
Yeah.
So it's like you just learning those things, learning when she is hot and when she's not, and seeing, she's cooled off. Stay away from her for a few weeks. She won a couple more. Put her back on everything. I mean, that's when we say, hey, follow one track. That's the shit we're talking about, right? And outside, like something like my dad, who doesn't follow just one track, or he follows Oaklawn, but he doesn't follow Naira exclusively. He just sees Linda Rice and thinks bet. But if you're following Naira, you know when Linda Rice needs to be bet, and you know when she doesn't because you followed it and you see, oh shit, the ball rolled off all of a sudden, you know. And so that's the stuff that we're talking about that you'll pick up on. Where if you try to go 6, 7, 8 tracks, you're not going to pick up on stuff like that.
Right. You don't have the time to do it. So
Right. Yeah.
1-9 on Stealing Crusher, who is your single in the next race, my single as well.
I mean, he should be. So
in my should crush. So we'll see. 21 minutes to post. We'll kind of give you guys updates. Make sure if you're watching this alongside, look at race 7 at Del Mar. All right, guys, it's time for the main event this weekend. That, of course, is race 10 on Saturday at Saratoga, the Grade 2 Jim Dandy Stakes. It's going off at 5:45 p.m. Eastern, 500K for 3-year-olds, going 1 1/8 miles. Field of 5 lines up here, and it's tough to find a field of 5 that win the highest price. Usually you'll have 1 or 2 out of those 5 that like that maybe is like 15, 20 to 1 or something, like higher odds. But all these really wouldn't be that surprised if any of these horses win. 6 to 1 on Disarm, Forte at 7 to 5, 6 to 1 on Hit Show. Brad Cox has 3 of the 5, 5 to 2 on Saudi Crown, and Angel of Empire at 5 to 2. So Halterman, it really seems like, now I'm not going to maybe Disarm can win, or maybe you think he will win, but it seems like it's about picking one of the Brad Cox horses, or is it Forte? Where are you at with Forte in this race?
Yeah, I think it's. I think you're right about that. I think it's going to be. Honestly, for me, it's Saudi Crown, Gate to Wire, or Forte winning. I think it's one of those two things are the most likely outcomes. You look at this thing; it's a 5-horse race. Saudi Crown is loans, right? So there's no question about it. He's going to be really tough to run down. I will kind of pause for a second. A lot of times these Jim Dandies, they do set up like this. If you go back and look at the Jim Dandy year after year, there is a lone speed horse usually in it because there's usually only 5 in the race. It always draws kind of light. So I hit the brakes. Last year I remember there was no speed in the race, and Joel Rosario took Epicenter all the way to the back, and up the backside I'm sitting with Ricky Pasternak, and he's going, this is ridiculous. What is he doing? This is the worst ride ever. And Epicenter won 5. And by the way, I agreed with Ricky. I thought it was like I was panicked. So the best horse still sometimes finds a way, even in this race, no matter what the pace setup is. So with that being said, I'm going to go Forte on top in this spot. I don't think he'll get that far behind. Sometimes in these 5-horse fields, you end up grouping together a little bit closer than you think. Look at Next and Clairiere last weekend. Clairiere was not that far behind Next. Or Nest, I should say. Next was today. Nest was not that far behind Nest, and it didn't matter because it was just a grouped up 4-horse field, and they just sprint to the finish. I think that's kind of how it's going to be here. I put Forte on top. I think he's the best horse in the race. I got Saudi Crown second.
Well, we're not. I don't know. I actually went into the race. Well, I was going to say we're not far off, but I guess we are, because I went into the race thinking, okay, I'm going to try to beat Forte here. One, I think in a 5-horse field, this is a horse, obviously, is 3-year-old or 2-year-old champion, second last out in the Belmont off the long layoff, and of course, scratched out of the Derby and all the, no need the whole story there, but obviously Forte, who beat Mage, went on to win the Kentucky Derby. I think there's a chance to beat him here. I mean, he may be the best, right? And that's this reality. But I do think I'm very interested in the two outside Brad Cox horses in Saudi Crown and Angel of Empire for a couple of reasons. One, I do think the race will set up nicely for Angel of Empire. He gets back to that 1.8 distance that I think is maybe right perfectly, like right hits him right between the eyes. He's 2 for 2 of the distance. The Risen Star and the in the Arkansas Derby, he was just awesome at a 1.8. And so it gets back to that, have a little bit of a layoff there, kind of get, a little break from that Triple Crown. So I do think that he is going to fire a nice race. But listen, I went from, oh, wow, that's kind of funny, Saudi Crown ended up showing up here, to thinking, wow, that's pretty big. Like, I think this horse might be the goods. And I remember texting you right after the Dwyer. I was like, man, that horse is a freak, because he ran his eyeballs out that day in the Dwyer. And Fort Bragg, obviously, just barely better than him. But, he did all the dirty work. In the Dwyer, he went 22 and 44, 108 and change, and still almost held off Fort Bragg, who ran huge. They put up a 106 buyer. He's out of a Tappet mare. Always Dreaming is the sire, but I think this horse has speed. Well, I think we know that, but I do think the horse can go a distance too. So we'll find out how far he wants to go. But man, I think I like Saudi Crown on top to steal this thing. I do think we might. I just don't see enough. I'm with you. I do think Forte will be closer than he's been, but you have a bunch of, Disarm comes from way out of it. Saudi Crown Angel of Empire comes from way out of it. Hit Show should be closer, but I'm until proven otherwise, I'm not really too concerned with Hit Show. I just think Saudi Crown might steal this thing on the front end. Now, the only horse that I'm going to play it probably 4 over 2, something like that, because I do think Forte will make his run. I mean, Forte makes a run every time, but maybe this is an opportunity to try to beat Forte.
Are you concerned at all with 1 1/8 for Saudi Crown? That was kind of one thing. He's going further than ever. That was a little bit of a possibility. I think he'll get it, but I wanted to get your thoughts, since you're going to pick him on top. Obviously, I guess you're not worried about the 1 1/8.
Well, I mean, I obviously think it's a question mark. We don't know. I mean, we haven't seen the horse go. I mean, it went 6.5, and then a mile. Got beat at the mile to Fort Bragg. But I look more at the buyer and what he got that day. And really, if you want to look at anything else, like, the numbers came back super strong for Saudi Crown. Now, listen, they're going to have to come. He's going to have to, like, chill out a little bit on the front end but they shouldn't get any. I don't see any horses in here, even if you think Forte is going to be closer than normal. I mean, look, you go back and watch some of these races, even like at Saratoga in the Hopeful. I know it's a long time ago, but 22 and 45 they went that day, and he was still like 5 lengths off the thing. And so I just don't think he can even keep up with Saudi Crown. And if Saudi Crown can go the distance, it might be one of those things where if he puts him away as fast, if he goes fast early, that even if he doesn't quite want to go the 1 1/8, he might just have been going so fast early in the race that none of these horses can kind of get to him late. And so I just thought it was a big tale that Brad Cox put him in the race when he already has Angel of Empire. And I think a lot of people are thinking, well, he just put him in there to help juicing up the speed and whatever for Angel of Empire. That may be true. We'll find out. But I was really impressed with Saudi Crown that day. Did all the dirty work and still about won that race. And Fort Bragg ran huge.
Yeah, I think Angel of Empire to me is gosh, he just seems to kind of be up against it in the spot. Maybe he'll show up and kind of be able to sit a little bit closer. Like I said, maybe they'll group together a little bit closer than you think. But Angel of Empire to me was one I kind of had circled. This would be a good race for him. And I'm with you. I'm a little bit worried that the setup's really not going to there. I still think a lot of him. I still think he's got a race, another race, I should say, with his name on it. But I'm not sure if it's this one. I agree. I think if you're going to use Brad Cox horse, I do think Saudi Crown from a pace situation makes sense. I'll say this. I'm with you. Like, that race against Bragg, that was about as good as anything we've seen from a 3-year-old. Talking about Fort Bragg and Saudi Crown hitting it together. So I think it makes sense. I think if you use the 2 and the 4, You're in really good shape in this race. I don't really think you need anybody else. It'll be interesting to see what my dad. We're going to cover this late pick 5 at Saratoga on the next show after blinkers off, and be interesting to see if he feels that way as well. But I kind of looked at it and said, look, I think Saudi Crown is the horse that fits the best for Brad Cox, and I think Forte is the best horse outside of Saudi Crown.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty accurate as far as like I think he's the unknown. Forte, we know what he is. I mean, all I know, it's been hit or miss. Like we've had some really good advice, we've had some pretty poor advice. So you take it for what it's worth. But when I asked our connection about which Brad Cox, it was Hit Show was not mentioned, and they said it was between. He said one Saudi Crown or Angel Empire will win, just not for sure which one.
Okay,
so there you go.
Yeah. Well, I think I could have told you that. So,
but I thought the biggest part of that was we didn't even mention Hit Show. So if you do like Hit Show, I don't think that's a great sign that you have 3 of the 5 and you don't even mention one of them. So
look, if Hit Show wins, I will be very disappointed. Not, I mean, it'd be fine, good for the owners or whatever. But to me, he's a cut below this group.
Yeah. So. I do like, to me, I like the idea of if I'm playing the multis, obviously I wouldn't single, which is kind of interesting considering you have Forte in the race. You may have thought you would have, and maybe you know, if you want to, I guess, go for it. But I like the idea of playing Saudi Crown and Forte just because it's like, okay, listen, either Saudi Crown is the goods and they can't get to him, or Forte does his thing and gets to him late. And one of the way I feel like I have the best speed and I have the most talented, maybe the best closer, or however you want to look at that in Forte. So I think that's, to me, the most logical way to play it.
Yep, I agree.
Okay, so we kind of mentioned it. Obviously, not a lot coming out of the Haskell into the Travers. You know, this tends to obviously produce a lot more of that, but you got to think we're going to see Forte, unless something were to go drastically wrong here. We're going to see him regardless in the Travers. Thoughts on, you really look at this field, man, and you kind of think all 5 might be there. I mean, I guess Saudi Crown would be the question mark if he doesn't fire, if he doesn't look great at a mile and 1/8 or whatever the case is. Yeah, he's not going to go. But if he wins or, runs a good race, like there's a good chance all 5 of these horses show up in the Travers.
I see no reason why all 5 shouldn't be there as long as they're healthy. Yeah, I totally agree with that. You look at Disarm and Angel of Empire and Hit Show, 3 horses that, whether you like them at this race or not, the setup should be better next time in the Travers with a bigger field, and even Forte for that matter. And then Saudi Crown, say he wins, or I guess maybe if he hates it, he's not going to run in the Travers. But if he wins or whatever, or runs a good second, he should be there. I mean, especially when you look at the Haskell and it's like, well, the winner's not going to the Travers. Okay. So Mage is coming. Well, I mean, we've proven we can beat Mage a few times. Baffert's going to send National Treasure and reincarnate. I mean, all right. Like,
yeah.
To me, if I own one of these horses, and even if I run 5th in this race, as long as they're healthy, their ass is going to the Travers. I'm sorry. I don't own this horse not in one of the biggest races of the year. So I agree. All 5 of these horses should go, as assuming healthy and they don't run just horrific in this race.
I mean, I'm kind of interested in what you think of this, because here's what I think. I felt like that Asmussen believes Extranejo is better than Disarm, because that's why he ran him in the Haskell versus Disarm in the Jim Dandy. Do you agree with that? And if you do agree with that, are you concerned about Disarm? Because if Extranejo was the best and we saw what he did in the Haskell, what do you think of that logic?
I don't know that I agree with it. And here's the only reason why I say it. Where did Epicenter run last year?
Well, that's true.
But
why?
Go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I guess you had to separate them, right? That's the key. I took it as if you think the horse is good enough to win the Haskell, I mean, you're gonna bring the horse that you think has got the best chance. Maybe with Epicenter, in his case, he had ran in a bunch of the Triple Crown, and so maybe he took it a little, wasn't going to go to the Haskell, instead kind of kept him at Saratoga. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I don't necessarily think that running in the Jim Dandy means you're a bad horse. I just thought when you have two out of the same connection, same barn, everything like that, that was at least my first. That's where I went with it.
If you go back and look at the history of the Jim Dandy and the Haskell, the Jim Dandy usually produces the Travers winner, and that's why I think logically what you're saying is right, but I do pause when I just automatically assume it because of that, right? Usually, if you want to win the Travers, this is the race you prep in. So that's why I kind of do take a little bit of a pause on that. I get what you're saying, though. Honestly, I think they've got two horses that are pretty damn similar. And so I think they just split them up and said, all right, one will go here, one will go here. We'll see how the chips fall. I don't necessarily think either of them are top-notch, quote unquote world class type epicenter runners like we saw last year.
No, I don't think so either. I mean, we'll see. It'd be interesting to see, that if they both were like, if they both entered into the Travers, or if one of the other runs in the Travers. I mean, you can't, you got to respect who they are, especially if Disarm comes in and runs like second or something here. But at the same time, it definitely feels like you're right. Like, to Epicenter won last year, and it doesn't feel like either one of those. Well, I know neither one of those horses is Epicenter, right?
Right.
And so it's going to take a big effort to beat a horse like Forte or Saudi Crown. Halterman's got the 2 Forte. I'm going to go with the speed horse, number 4, Saudi Crown. We can comment on that if you want to. How many horses do you think? I mean, Arcangelo will be there. Mage, Forte. I mean, let's say 4 out of the 5 of this field, let's just say, to go. And then you've got Mage, Arcangelo is 6. Probably missing a couple, maybe 8 or 9.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate. It's hard to guess this far out, but I'd say 8 or 9 for sure.
The interesting part about that race is, thanks to our good friend Magic, who really pushed to have a race like the Derby in the summer. It is like a Derby in the summer. So that's why they call it the Midsummer Derby. And so even if you a lot of times, we saw it last year, for instance, with our good friends, the Von Hemos, they took a swing with a horse that maybe is not quite good enough, clearly, but the opportunity was there. The horse was running well. You go to you know what I mean? And it's similar. And it's very similar to the Derby in that sense, to where it's like, you don't just go bring a horse to the Jim Dandy because you want to. You point to the Travers. It's the Travers, and so that's kind of similar in that case, where you will get some horses that necessarily don't belong, maybe, but it's the Travers and they're going to be there.
Yep, 100%.
All right, let's do some rapid fire. Let's go to let's see, Amsterdam. This is a hell of a race, by the way.
It's a really good one. Yeah.
Tomorrow. Really, we got racing all weekend, Friday through Sunday. Again, it's going to be, get used to it, all summer long between Saratoga and Del Mar. Let's see what we got here before do you want to wait, or do you want to just jump in?
Oh, no, go ahead. No.
Okay. We got 4 minutes to post, so.
Yeah.
And just interrupt me whenever that thing is getting close.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it. All right, time for Rapid Fire, presented by Racing Dudes Best Bets. If you haven't checked it out, go to racingdudes.com and click on the Best Bets page there on the main menu, and you can see we kind of mentioned it earlier. We showed it on the screen. Myself and Halterman, as well as the rest of the team at Racing Dudes, who we like each and every day, especially right now with Saratoga and Del Mar. Halterman and I have been playing a lot of horse bets, but we also throw in some baseball, and obviously when football gets around, we have football in there as well. But it's literally who we like. What plays in particular we like each and every day at Saratoga and Del Mar, and across the country in sports. And so if you're kind of you're new to it, or maybe you're trying to decide on what you want to play, check out the Best Bets. You'll see exactly what Halter and I are playing. It's got ROIs, it's got percentages, it's got our win records, how much we've won over the last week, over the last month. All that stuff's included, so you can get a good feel for what you're checking or what you're betting. Make sure you go check out the best page. Also, co-sponsor is the Whitney Bible. Will be back. It'll be available here soon this weekend to go ahead and get your hands on that for the Bible. Maybe Alterman, we can redeem ourselves. It's maybe I can hit a bet. I don't know. We'll see. The bar is set low,
Right.
but we'll be getting. I cannot wait for that card, and obviously Halter and I will be there live in person. All right, let's kick things off here on Friday. We'll stay at Saratoga for the time being. Race 10, the Amsterdam Stakes, Grade 2, where 200K for 3-year-olds going 6.5 furlongs. Field of 6 shows up here, and dude, I kind of was back and forth with this race between a couple of these horses. Number 1, Drew's Gold, a horse that I really like. I really wanted to pick last time out in the Woody Stevens at 9-5. You've got 5-2 on Gilmore, and you got 3-1 on Rivet, who's going for 8. I think it's 8 straight is what Rivet is going for at this point. Where do you stand with that horse, and do you think he can get it done, or are you worried about the 1, Drew's Gold?
I really think the 1, Drew's Gold's going to get him. I think Rivet will do his thing. He'll go out, he'll get the lead. But the thing for me, I think the number 1, Drew's Gold, is fast enough to stalk him. I think he's fast enough to get up close enough to him to where late in the stretch, I do think he'll wear him down. I think it'll be a really good race between Rivet and Drew's Gold. End of the day, I think Drew's Gold is a little bit better than Rivet, a little bit more classier than Rivet. So give me Drew's Gold, but no disrespect to Rivet. I think he's very, very, very good. And if Drew's Gold doesn't fire, Rivet may win by 4 or 5 lengths.
By the way, he's going for 6 in a row, not 8, but he's going for 6 in a row. Rivet, that is, rattled off 5, and he just keeps winning. And even whenever you want to play against him, he comes back, and he just proves you wrong. I mean, this horse has got so much speed, and really, I'll be honest with you, and I had Drew's Gold put down. Here's where I was. If you want to go between the 4 and the 1, that's Gilmore. I thought that Drew's Gold ran a better race than the Woody Stevens than Gilmore. If you want to compare the two,
yeah,
Arabian Lion obviously ran awesome that day, but Drew's Gold ran a 106 buyer, increased his buyer off of that 98, the one before. I think he's a legit horse. I think he's a very serious horse. I think he proved it that day. I like him more than I like Gilmore. I like Gilmore quite a bit as well underneath. But, dude, I just kept going back to Rivet, and I watched all of his races, all of the wins. And I just thought, this horse just doesn't – he goes fast early and he goes fast late.
Yep.
He just doesn't stop. And even there's races where it doesn't feel like it's going to – we'll never really know with the Chick Lang, of course, with, when having a meltdown broke down that day. But he was right there. We were about to see maybe it was a battle. Maybe it was not going to be. But, Rivet did obviously go on to win that day, came back and dominated in the Maxfield. It just seems like whatever you throw at him, it doesn't matter. He puts horses away early and then he puts them away late. So call me crazy. Maybe I'm not. I like the number 5 Rivet. I'm just going to, stick with what's hot. Call me, horses won 5 in a row. I'm thinking, call me crazy. But
yeah, I was going to say, I just call you crazy.
Speed, man. I just think this is a dangerous horse. And until proven otherwise, I'm going with the 5 Rivet. I do really like Drew's Gold. I'm sure, I'm sure that will be. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think if he fires, this is going to be the hell of a matchup. The one interesting part about this, we'll find out what these buyers really stand. I don't know what it looks like on time form, but like Rivet's top buyer in his say 5 race streak is a 96, which is even lower than Drew's Gold 2 back. He's ran 10 points higher than Drew's Gold did last time out than Rivet's high. So we'll find out where those really do stack up.
6-1-3, the big favorite, loses at Del Mar. Broke terrible from the gate and gets third. 6-1.
6-1-3.
Correct.
Wow.
The 6, Big Pond, the winner. Yeah. 3 never looked good for a second in the race.
And welcome to horse racing.
Yeah, so. And that's what I was saying to 357. I said, you'll see in a second how it can change on you. So there you go.
I mean, let me pull it up real fast. Because this is a horse that, where is that race?
He'd won by like 17 and 12, and
Yeah.
and he had beaten that horse, and he didn't get out of the gate, and that was it.
He had won by 4.5 on. Then he went the last two, 15.5 and 17. Going one time it was 6.5 furlongs, one time it was a mile and 16. So there's really no rhyme or reason. 94 and 92 buyer. I'm not shocked the 6 ran well, because that's who I liked in second, but did he just not break at all? Did she not break at all?
He didn't break very well, and he just kind of spun his wheels a little bit in the stretch. He tried to go inside as the other horses floated out, and I mean, you never really thought he was going to win. Let's put it that way.
Wow. Oh, there you go. It's that's why it's brutal. All right, let's go to Del Mar on Friday. Friday, go to Del Mar, race 7, the Daisy Cutter handicap with 100K. It's going fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up, going 5 furlongs on the turf. You got a field of 9 shows up here. You got the 1 Twilight Gleaming. The way I looked at this race, it was Twilight Gleaming, or you're going like Amy C. I think you're between those two. Twilight Gleaming, obviously ran over international a few times. Didn't look great at all at Ascot last time out, but comes back here. She does like Del Mar as well. So what do you think of between these two horses here?
I like Twilight Gleaming. I think she's just a little bit classier than Amy C. And I do like Amy C as well, but I think Twilight Gleaming gets the best of her in this spot. Should be a good race. I think it's between those two. I really don't think anybody else is going to jump up and get the job done. I just, when I handicapped this, I thought, Ward's sending her all the way out here. She's obviously doing really well if they're going to send her all the way to Del Mar. So I thought Twilight Gleaming was the one that made the most sense.
Yeah, obviously, between the two, I think you can make a case, 2 for 2 at Del Mar for Twilight Gleaming, 5 wins and 9 starts at this distance. Yeah, last time out was not great, but the time before at Keeneland, the only start really in the United States this year, she looked really good. So, I don't think there's any question that she's showing up to win here. Listen, I picked Amy C last time out in the Intercontinental at Belmont. I thought it was interesting that Diamano brought the horse out there. Thought she ran well, just didn't quite get the job done. Finished third, beaten 3.25 lengths, or 3/4 of a length, I should say. Comes back out here to out the west, and I just think this horse has been running too good to lose. At this kind of level, I should say, and I do think there's an opportunity here to try to beat the 1, and I'm going to go with Amy C once again. So I think Amy C will like this distance, kind of cutting back just quite a little bit. She's been running off 6.5 and 6 last time out. Goes to 5 this time. I think that might be enough to kind of improve her to get the win. So give me the 5 Amy C to kind of slightly upset the 1 Twilight Gleaming, but I was back and forth between those two. I really would be surprised if it's not one of those two. Wouldn't you be?
Oh yeah, I would be very surprised. They definitely look like the best 2 horses.
All right, let's go to Saratoga on Saturday, and let's go to the Vanderbilt race 8. So the 2 races prior to the Jim Dandy on Saturday at Saratoga, race 8, the Alfred G. Vanderbilt handicap, grade 1, 350K. Handicap for 3-year-olds and up, going 6 furlongs. Field of 7 shows up here, and honestly, when you see Elite Power, it's kind of like he's the other Cody's Wish right out of that Millmont barn. And when you see Elite Power, you just kind of essentially think, okay, well, Elite Power's going to win, and just move on. And then you start to look at this field closely. At least I did, and I was like, man, Good Night or Elite Power, Good Night or Elite Power. Which one do I like here? And Elite Power did kind of dispose of Good Night when the last time they faced overseas. But listen, Good Night came back to win, and Elite Power obviously did as well. But I think it's all about who you like more, because I do think you can make a case for either one of them.
Yeah, make your choice. Whoever you want to go with. Asmussen's got a hot hand. You go with him. But boy, to me, Elite Power is going to be tough to beat, isn't he? I mean, he showed up back here in the States and just rolled, and until somebody beats him, I'm not going to jump off of him. So I'll go Elite Power here. I think he gets it done. But listen, this is a test. These are the 2 best sprinters, in my opinion, in the country. So battle it out. They're going to battle in American soil this time. Maybe that'll make the difference. he said Asmussen's on a roll. Maybe that'll make the difference. But I just think Elite Power is a little bit better. So I went with Elite Power.
Yeah, that's where I went as well. I I don't know, man. I had a hard time because like I thought visually the race from Elite Power last time out in the True North was better than what we saw from in the Aristodes at again last time out for Goodnight. But Goodnight got a 108 buyer in that race, and Elite Power got a 102 buyer out of that race. And so visually, I thought, well, wow, I really thought Elite Power was a lot more impressive than Goodnight. But you look at the buyer, so we'll find out. But the last time they faced, like you said, Elite Power kind of disposed of him in that race in Saudi. So I just think Elite Power is kind of elite. This is another horse that's coming in, looking for what is that? I think it's 7 in a row.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, no, looking for 8. 8 in a row is what this Elite Power. This horse has just been on a roll since breaking his maiden. Just never really looked back, including that the Breeders' Cup win, the win overseas, and then the True North last out. So I think Del Mont's got himself a couple really good horses, and Elite Power is obviously one of them. So I'm with you. Give me number 4, Elite Power. But I wouldn't be surprised if this thing is a little bit of a fight, especially early in the stretch. It might seem like it's a little close, but I think Elite Power is going to be too good to handle. So give me the 4, Elite Power. Let's see. Where are we going here? Let's go to Del Mar. Let's go back and let's go to the San Diego Handicap Race 8 out at Del Mar on Saturday. It is a grade 2. It's worth $300K for 3-year-olds and up, going 1 and 1/16 miles. You got a field of 9 showing up here. And 8-5 on Defunded, Bob Baffert. Not a big surprise that this horse is going to go off the favorite. But if you don't want to play, then you really have your options. I mean, it's not other than maybe whatever. I'm not going to try to pronounce the name, but the 9 horse, Tisquantum. You really, take your pick here. But is Defunded going to get himself another win?
Man, I want to try to beat Defunded in this spot. I didn't. I just. Where did you go? That's the problem. Like these horses that are in this race with him are good, but it does feel like a spot where it's like we could beat Defunded here. And maybe I end up going a little bit deeper in the pick 5. Haven't gone that far yet with pick 5s. That'll be tomorrow morning. But at the end of the day, it's like I don't want to play Slow Down Andy. I don't really want to play Mystic. I don't really want to play American Admiral. So by default, I went Defunded, but I don't really love this race, Jared. I don't know. I go with Defunded on top. I think he's the best of the bunch. I can see it going a few different ways, though.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was with it. I couldn't quite get to any other horse. That was really why I ended up falling with Defunded. I pretty much the way I handicap is I try to, anytime there's a favorite, I try to go through and beat the favorite. And I would suggest anybody that handicaps to do so. And then if you go back and you say, well, I can't quite, I can't really, if you feel yourself reaching like, well, maybe that one could do it. Then it's like, well, maybe it's just the fun that's just going to win, And so that's ultimately kind of what I did. I kind of looked at the 4, missed the cut for quite a while. The 5, American Admiral, for quite a while, who missed the cut last time out, but missed the cut was the big favorite that day. I do think the 1, Slow Down Andy, is semi-interesting here. Yeah. Mile 16th, I think might help. Likes Del Mar. After you saw it last year after a poor effort in the Risen Star, came back and really looked at the Sunland Derby. And maybe even that poor effort in the Met Mile. It was the Met Mile. Ran well in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. So could he win? Sure, but I just think Defunded is just too good to beat here. And really, doesn't it kind of feel like? There's no doesn't it? It is the best Baffert older horse.
Yeah.
For the classic division, and until we kind of figure out what these Arabian horses are or whatever, who knows? Is Taba gone? Where is he? Is he just? Defunded is the only horse, right?
Can I be completely honest? I don't care where Taba's at. I don't ever want to see him again. I don't care. I don't care.
Is he in your backyard at home? Be
I
honest.
hope not. If he is, he's going to go to the pound or wherever you take animals that are lost because he's not staying with me. I don't care about Taylor anymore.
Is there any realm of this race where you're like, yeah, I mean, Defunded could prove that he's a legit classic horse?
I think he's a legit classic horse now. I mean, I don't, I, he's the best older horse in California. I mean, he's kind of passed all the tests at Santa Anita, which is where the Breeders' Cup's going to be. So
Yeah.
I think he is. Like, I don't really, what happens if he runs third in this race? Does it really change your opinion? And not really. It's Del Mar. Weird things happen. You go back to Santa Anita, and he'll probably be just fine. So, I mean, he's definitely one of the better California older horses. So, with the race being at Santa Anita, I think he's a legitimate candidate at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really thought that last or two races back. I know it was a mile and eighth race, but I mean, it's such a versatile horse. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he's won at mile races. He won at a mile and a quarter. He's won at a mile and an eighth. But that one two back where everything kind of went up against him in that California and just missed the break and kind of did a complete 180 and won from coming way off of it. It was a really visually nice looking performance, and then rattled off a win on the front end when maybe it looked like he was going to get beat. Now, I don't know what he is. He is not having to face much out there. Um, he did get beat by Stiletto Boy and Proxy earlier this year. Proxy's, they're not terrible horses, I guess, but still, you know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
he is maybe the best seemingly, but it's hard to kind of get a good vibe, like trying to pick him to win a race like the Classic. But I'm with you. Number 6, Defunded. For me as well here. All right, let's go to the race, the main event really of the day, race 10, the Bing Crosby Stakes, grade 1, 400K for 3-year-olds and up at 6 furlongs. Again, this is at Del Mar on Saturday, and it is a Breeders' Cup win. You're in for the Breeders' Cup Qatar Racing Sprint this fall, like you said, at Santa Anita. So another full, large field here, field of 12. Quite a bit different than what we see at Saratoga as of late, but it makes it a tough race to handicap. 7-2 on Dr. Scheibel, 4-1 on Anarchist, who did finish second last out. I thought that was a pretty impressive second to who did he finish? Was it Cody's Wish? Yeah. Or no, Elite Power. I'm sorry, the other one. You got second to Elite Power that day. In the True North, ran a nice race. You got CZ Rocket, the old dude is still running Civilis at 6-1. American Theorem, who won this race last year. You got Spirit of McKenna at 4-1. The Chosen Vron, the California bred at 4-1. Very interesting horse in itself. Hoist the Gold, I think, is interesting at 15-1. So, having said all that, where are you going?
Yeah, this is a complicated one for sure. I had a number of different horses on at one point or another. I ended up going Dr. Scheibel on top. I hate that I ended up going that way, but I just look at it and say, okay, this outside draw is good in my opinion for a sprint race. I think being outside of all those other horses will be good for him. He has early speed, but he does have to go to the front, so I think he should stock what should be a pretty hot pace. I think he comes home running. I really like Dr. Scheibel, the 11 here, the more I looked at it. So I went 11 on top. I also like the 1 a bit, and I like the 4 a bit. So I think there's 100, there's not 100. There's 12 different ways you could go here. There's a lot of different angles to look at. I just kind of think that outside post for the 11 is going to make a big difference. I think he can sit wherever he wants to sit. And I think if he fires his best race, he'll have a hard time holding him off this time.
Yeah, this is a crazy race, really. I mean,
yeah.
it's like logically, I want to pick. I think Spirit of McKenna is super interesting. I really like this horse. The 4-1. I mean, we'll see if we get that. But I'm also wondering if there is how much more upside there is with the two. It kind of feels like we've seen. I mean, runs really well, and obviously there's nothing to winning by open links last time out. But it's going to take a big effort, I feel like, to win here. The Chosen Vron, I think, is way interesting.
Yep.
But it's like such a class hike, and what will he do here? But when you look at the numbers and like the way this horse runs, I mean, really should be able to compete. There's my little boy calling. We've been playing this Ninja Turtle game on oh. We've been playing this Ninja Turtle game on Roblox. Oh, you don't know what Roblox is probably, but and it's like it's so fun. Like, I mean, just because him and I have my own account just to play with him, and he keeps calling me and be like, Dad, I unlocked Mikey, and so it's kind of a fun way for us to play together when he's not here. But anyways, he's probably telling me he unlocked one of the new characters. But no, really, I think, Anarchist, I think, makes a lot of sense. Even your horse, Dr. Scheibel, American Theorem, I just kept going back. And listen, I might kick myself for this, but I kept going back. It just feels like a race that the one Hoist the Gold is going to win.
Yeah.
And or at least, let's say, could win. This is a horse that, has been running in all the big races, for the most part this year. And it's Dallas Stewart. I mean, no shock, right? He just runs them just like D Wayne, right? But really ran well all year, other than the Met Mile, which was just a disaster in itself, unless you're, Cody's Wish or, I guess Zandon. But you don't like, other than that, I thought it was a nice move for him to kind of take the horse back to a level that maybe to kind of get his confidence back last time out. And he ran a nice race that day in the allowance race at Ellis Park. But, you look back, 3 back in that Churchill Downs race, finish second to who? Cody's Wish. In the Commonwealth, finished second. So this is a horse that I think at this distance might be pretty dang good. And especially in a field that it feels like it's just all over, Listen, I'm with you. Like, I can probably count on 2 fingers how many times I've picked a Dallas Stewart horse, honestly, in the last 5 years. So this just feels like the right timing to do so. And I also, by the way, I like the fact that Saya, I mean, he had Sayas, right? Riding this horse. Hernandez, who's ridden this horse in the past, comes back to ride as well. So I think that's a nice little move as well.
It's the right price. I'll give you that. It's the right price. I said I liked him too. I think it could be a heartbreaking get second, get third type of performance as well. A lot of times with Dallas Stewart, that's kind of what happens. But it's the right price to give a shot to him. So I can't sit here and say I hate it.
Yeah, it definitely, let's be clear. It's got to be, if Hoist the Gold gets bet down, I mean, let me put a analysis on this, a disclaimer. If the Hoist the Gold gets bet down to 6-1 or something, I don't have any interest on Hoist the Gold. But if he stays around this 15-1 mark, I think it makes sense. I really like the 2 as well, and I do think you can if you're playing multis. Let's kid. I thought I've got my thing on silent. I guess doesn't matter. But listen, I just think this is too good of a horse, or too good of a bet at that value to not make. So give me the 1, Hoist the Gold. Hopefully, I'm hosting the trophy.
There you go.
See what I did there? All right, let's go to we haven't really looked at this race closely, but we'll go to Sunday real quickly to the Bowling Green Stakes. Halterman, I don't know if you've had a chance to really dive into this thing, but it is Sunday, race 9. It's a grade 2 Bowling Green, 250K for 4-year-olds and up, going 1 3/8 miles on the inner turf. Again, Sunday at Saratoga. I got a field of 11. Rebels Romance for Appleby shows up here. Obviously, you've got some Chad Browns, Clement, Motion, Cass, the typicals that you see running on the turf at Saratoga. But thoughts on Rebels Romance showing up here?
I mean, he wins by as much as he wants, right? First of all, no, I have not looked at this field. But I mean, he won the Breeders' Cup, so I think he could come win the Bowling Green. I'm shocked he's here. I had no idea Rebels was coming. So yeah, I would say I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I haven't, to be clear, I have not looked at this yet. It came out while we were driving, while I was driving. I haven't done a look at it, but I don't see any reason why he wouldn't beat these horses. I think he beat horses last time he was here in the United States. So. Yeah, I think Rebels Romance is going to be pretty darn tough in the spot.
That's funny. Kevin says, "Let the record show that when Hoyskoll wins at 5-1, Jared does not get credit for that pick." No,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, exactly.
you don't see how it works, Kevin. You know, if he is 5-1 and he doesn't win, I say, well, you never should have bet him anyways. But if he does
Right.
win, I'll say, well, 5-1 is pretty close to what I was thinking. So, I got it already worked out no matter what happens. Yeah, like the thing is, like if you think, okay, well, Chad Brown, Bowling Green, it seems to go hand in hand, but highest honors, Rock Emperor. I mean, I know you have a lot of interest in Rock Emperor,
Mhm.
but not a lot of people do. Never Explain is an interesting one, right? Saez back aboard after finishing second in the Monmouth last month to Catnip, who golly should have won maybe last time out, didn't
Mhm.
last weekend. Soldier Rising is an interesting horse, but kind of continues to not quite get the job done. Up to the mark, of course, beat him, which is nothing to sneeze at. And then Red Knight beat him 2 back. But can he get the job done here? It's an interesting horse. Strong quality, should have a lot of speed in the race. The Gray Wizard. Uh, you know, he's an interesting one. I don't know. We'll see what the price is on him. Finished second last out to Siskany, but did win a time before that. Has not won at Saratoga Channelmaker. I mean, come on. Why for as good of a trainer as Bill Mott is, why are we running this horse still? I don't
Yeah.
know. Rebels Romance. So last time out was in Maidon, finished 7th, beating 11, was just not a good effort. But this is a Breeders' Cup Turf winner, Rebels Romance, who just ran awesome that day. So we'll see what he does here. But the fact that Applebee's bringing him over, do you take any? I've heard people kind of criticize, not really criticize, but use it as a reason not to bet him. The fact that it looks like Buick is not going to come over, or no, I think it's Mullen is going to get them out for
Mhm.
this one. Do you take any kind of thought into that when he doesn't bring over one of his top guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people talked about Buick not being aboard at the Breeders' Cup
Good
and
point.
what happened. So I mean, I get it, but I know I'm not worried about it, to be honest. Look, I mean, you might look at the last race and go, well, maybe he's starting to tail off a little bit, and that's that could be fair. The jockey situation, no, it doesn't really bother me too much. Um, to me, I mean, you again, I don't really see a whole lot in here that's real strong. So I
I
think he's
know.
one he just looks a little better if he shows up.
Last time out, Tawny Port got a 12 buyer. Kevin, you got a 13 buyer for reference last time you ran. So that tells you how bad Tawny Port was last time out. So, I mean, listen, I'm with you. It seems like a kind of a case. And I really actually like that exacta, Kevin, just off the top, looking at this quickly here, like a Rebels Romance over Soldier Rising exacta. Maybe just because, like Soldier Rising, a horse, like I said, likes to get second, runs well, hasn't quite gotten the job done. Who does get the job done? Maybe it's the international horse for Appleby, Rebels Romance. So I don't mind that exact at all.
You might play it both ways. I think if somebody's going to beat him, he's in a hell of a good form right now, right? I mean, if you're running behind up to the mark by 2 3/4, that's one you'd better take a hard look at.
For sure. I mean, listen, because we've seen it too, right? This year, it seems like this year more than past years, Appleby hasn't been as automatic, and I know it's never automatic, but you know what I mean? Like it feels like when he's bringing horses over, it feels less like he's like, oh, they're gonna win or they're gonna run really well. Like we haven't seen
Mhm.
that all the time this year with Appleby. So if that is the case, he doesn't fire. To me, I would almost play it like, and maybe you disagree here, but just I would almost play like I would key Rebels Romance. I'd play that exacta, and if you want to play it the other way, don't even use Rebels Romance because I think he's gonna win or not at all. He'll
Mhm.
finish third, fourth off the board. So if you want to play that exact the other way, play it like, I don't know, Soldier Rising over Never Explain or whatever, whoever it is you like. But I would be more apt to do that than I would be. Because I think he's either going to roll or he's going to just not fire like we've seen it from some of those Appleby
Yeah.
horses.
Agree. Totally agree.
All right, that's rapid fire, and that's all I don't think there's anything on. Anything come out? There's nothing on Sunday, right? At least nothing that's out yet at Del Mar. So it's rapid fire, and good luck everybody playing this weekend across the country at Saratoga and Del Mar. Whew. How's it going over there, Haltzman?
Got dark quick.
Yeah, you're getting.
Well, change the lighting. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Okay, so Buick's riding at Ascot. That's why he's not coming. Makes sense, I guess. But
I've gotten to where I don't even look at jockeys.
You just hate them. You just don't look at them.
I mean, it's all. They're all the same.
Unless it's Rosario, right? Then it's different. So
unless he wins, you know.
All right, it's all the time we have. Check us out at racingnews.com for our free picks and our premium selections on our products page. Click the Get Racing News premium button in the menu at racingnews.com to learn more. Remember, go check out the best bets page as well as the upcoming Whitney Bible available soon on our handicapping products page. Just go to racingdudes.com and search or go look on the main menu for all those options. Racing Dudes are on Twitter at racing_dudes, Instagram and Facebook. You can find all episodes of Blinkers Off by visiting our podcast page, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you listen to this pod. We are on there. Go check out the Magic Mike show as well. They did the Del Mar Saturday Pick 5 as well. So you want analysis not of our analysis, but if you want the San Diego specifically and the Bing Crosby, that's included there in that Pick 5. Go watch or listen to the Magic Mike show right now. And stay tuned, right? Because you got another show coming up.
That's right. Yeah, about 30 minutes away from Dudes Who Bet Sports, we're going to do late Pick 5 at Saratoga. So we'll cover, one of the races. Well, I guess both those races are in the late Pick 5. So we'll cover those. We'll get Papa Dude's thoughts, plus 3 other ones. Like I said, Saratoga on Saturday. We races, let's see, that'll be 8 through 12, right? Yes, 8 through 12 for the Pick 5, late Pick 5. We've been close the first 2 weeks we did this. Going to give it another shot tonight.
What do you think your dad is going to say with Saudi Crown?
That's an interesting question.
Who's going to go? Because it's Brad Cox. We know he likes Brad Cox, but is he going to go with the new shooter kind of Brad Cox versus some of those? You know, he loves Forte. He really likes Forte. I know that.
Forte will no doubt be the top pick. It'll be Forte. I bet Angel of Empire. He usually goes with class over like the new horse, the new shooter, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll stick around and watch and see what he thinks of that one. So.
He's already told me we're going 4-5 in the first leg, and that's it. So,
what's the first leg?
The first leg's Gunite and Elite Power.
Oh, so there you go. I knew he would pick Goodnight, or he would use Goodnight, no doubt.
Yeah, he texted me. He was studying. I think he was studying while the drivers were driving in the driver's ed car. He texted me and he goes, "We're using 4-5 in the 8th." I was like, "Okay, sounds good."
Do you think he even watches what they're doing?
Yeah, I think he does because I don't think they're great drivers. So I think he does value his life.
He's looking at does he print out the form, or he's got to, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's what he's doing. I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe he was on a break or something, but he did text me. He's like 4-5 in the 8th. I was like, okay, but I haven't heard from him since. So, if you're gonna watch that first race, I'm just gonna write down 5, and then we'll go right on to the next one. So really, we only have to handicap 4 races because we've got that first one already figured out.
Well. Stay tuned, everybody, to see what the Papa Dude and Halterman what they're going to play there. And again, if you guys are going to be at Saratoga tomorrow, Friday, or Saturday, or next week, Friday and Saturday for that matter, Whitney weekend, make sure you hit us up. Halterman and Heather will be there tomorrow. Myself and Halterman and Heather, and I don't know who else, a bunch of people I'm sure will be there for the Whitney, our buddies as well. So hit us up. We never turn down free drinks. So again, hit us up at the Paddock Bar. Yeah, I was going to mention that, Kevin. Did you see that today about Burrow?
No. What happened?
Yeah, he got carted off. You watch it live or you watch the video, it looks like you immediately think ACL or something like that because he's scrambling. They were doing like 11 on 11, and he took off to the right and was scrambling and just got kind of pulled up and like started hobbling. And you're like, oh no, and turns out it's a calf strain they're saying. So likely be out the rest of the all of preseason with it, but not an ACL or something huge. And so obviously when you see that, when you watch it live, because I saw the video and I didn't see what it was for a little bit. I mean, I was like, dude, that's not good, whatever that is. So hopefully he'll be all right.
Yeah, that's not good at all when that happens. But yeah, I'm glad it's just a calf issue. I can't wait for all the talking heads to tell me how missing the preseason is going to be such a big blow to his preparation, and how he just won't be very good to start the season, because that's when will happen. There's no bigger jack off time than the preseason in the NFL for a star player. They don't do shit, so he'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
Well, he's just got to make it to the Arrowhead Classic in January. That's all and I think he'll be just fine for that. So
he'll be fine. And by the way, the Bengals they can't start off any worse than they did last year. They were so bad to start last year.
Yeah, I know. I mean, which, by the way, I think I mentioned it last week. I won't talk too much about it, but I did finish the quarterback. Have you watched all of it? Have you started it yet?
No, I'm not going to watch that. No,
dude, you got to watch. It's so good. The funniest part about it is Mariota just goes MIA. So it's Mariota. I think it's, for those that forgot or didn't listen, it's Mariota, Kirk Cousins, and Mahomes, and they cover. It's like that's this like 3 different guys, 3 different teams, 3 different situations. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Mariota, if you remember, like Mariota you probably remember he got benched at the end of last year, towards the end of last year. But the other thing is, like, they also kind of like he just disappeared after that, which I'd kind of forgotten. Once he got benched, it was like a bye week, and he never came back to the facility. Like, he literally didn't show back up to the facilities, and he said he went on IR, and it was going to get a knee situation taken care of and take that go ahead. But it's like he didn't even stay with the team. Like, he didn't stick around and help or anything. He just left. He moved. They moved, like, because you get to see, it's all like behind the scenes, and they have cameras following him and stuff. They moved back, I think, because he has a lot of family in Vegas from his time. He was, when he played for the Vegas, and so he moved. Like, he's moved back, and then like they do a thing back to him later, like at the end of the show, because I had to look it up. It was like, where did he end up going? He got signed. The Eagles signed him.
I never would have known that.
He's a backup for the Eagles, obviously for Jalen, but but even then they were like, he was like, yeah, it's really hoping to be out west, but like the Eagles, they were in the Super Bowl last year, so like it's a good opportunity. It's just like, dude, what is your problem, man?
Oh my god!
But, so that happened, and obviously it was cool they got lucky that you got a star player like Mahomes who won the Super Bowl in the first year they did it. But it was I was like on the couch reliving the whole Super Bowl. It was pretty awesome. So
no, I don't care anything about that. No.
Yeah. There you go. It's awesome. Like it's such a cool dude. They just built. I don't know. I'd like to find out. I have to ask a couple buddies in Kansas City where this is at. But he built him, and as soon as he signed his contract, he bought some land in Kansas City or outside of Kansas City, and built. They're like they just moved into this brand new sprawling house. That was like the big criticism. Everyone's like, how does he? He lives in this normal, decent looking house, but now it's like this. He's got a golf or a par 3 hole, like a literal hole in his backyard, a football field, a pool, basketball court, something else. But it's just like this sprawling thing in his backyard. It's unbelievable, but it's kind of neat to see. Yeah, Andy Reid is a legend. It was so neat to see, even though I knew all of it already because I'm a diehard. But it's just like what makes Andy Reid so special is the way he interacts with his players.
Yeah,
and not just how he interacts, but how he lets. Like, they have times every practice, they have a part of their practice like keyed off to where Andy just lets Mahomes, and not just him, but everyone, kind of do their own thing. And then Andy will be watching back there, kind of scribbling, and they find something he likes. He might, okay, let's try this, let's change this. And then they run it, and they and there's like all those. Can you remember those little weird plays they ran last year? And some of them worked, some of them didn't. But those are those kind of plays that they just kind of jack off at in practice, and it turns out, Andy puts a spin on it, and it works.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah.
How many coaches would do that?
Not many. He is. It'll be interesting once he retires what happens, because he is the wheel, that kind of makes that whole thing go. He is. I mean, you can't win as many games as he's won, and it wasn't just in Kansas City here. He won a lot of games in Philadelphia as well. He's the best coach of the NFL when it comes to offense. I don't think it's close.
Yeah. Man, Dr. Tang is really rubbing it in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess he didn't invite you for that ticket either, did he?
No. I went 4 out of 5, Doc. So there you go.
Oh, and by the way, the comments out today, it was really funny. Sean Payton just completely. Can't remember what the exact words he said, but he was like, the coach who basically said whoever was coaching or the coach for we're basically doing everything the opposite of how it was being done. That's how bad Hackett was doing.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. But here's a big test on Sean Payton, right? Can he revive Russell Wilson? Because he seemed unrevivable all of last year. So how much of that was Russell Wilson? How much was the coaching?
Yeah.
That's going to be fascinating to kind of see how that goes.
I don't know. I mean, if anybody can do it, you think he could, but yeah, he looked.
That's a weird guy.
Dead.
That's a weird individual. Not Sean Payton. Russell Wilson.
In general.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Apparently, he lost a lot of weight. That's what I heard. So
I don't think weight was his problem.
It may have been a problem, but
it
wasn't the problem. Yeah.
I don't think it was the sliver of a problem.
We actually wanted him to stay in the pocket or wanted him to run, instead of throwing an interception.
His extreme creepiness and weirdness I think that's way, way up there, number one. I've never heard a more cringeworthy soundbite than this guy. So
what was it? Broncos country. That's right.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. But look, if Sean Payton, if he can't fix him, he's not fixable. I will say that for sure.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm fascinated to see how that turns out. Here's the deal. He took the job knowing he was stuck with him. So
in all seriousness, forget the fact that he may be a serial killer, but it's like he had, even though as bad as he was, and we all saw it, Hackett was worse. And so it masked some of it, right? Yeah. And I'm not we all remember, we all know he was bad. But you know what I'm saying? So now this is the year because you have a Hall of Fame coach. You've got a lot of people picked him to win last year because they had system in place. It felt like anyways. And so you add in Peyton, and you've got you have a nice core of receivers, and you got a situation that's good, a good defense. You gotta win. If you can't, then it's squarely on the creepy kid. So
you have to be, if you're Russell Wilson, you have to be substantially better. There's no way around it. He has no excuses. He has to be wildly better, or it's a total bust. They're gonna find out. I'm afraid for Denver fans what they might find out. But again, I have ultimate respect for Sean Payton. He might be able to get it out of them. And if he can, they're going to be decent. But if he can't, where do you go? You don't have anybody else. Where do you go? So it's going to be fascinating to see what he is. And the other thing is, he will not put up with it. If he sucks, he'll be bitched, period. So it'll be interesting to see how that relationship goes.
Well, it's tough because it's not. It's a good division, obviously, and you gotta be able to win. You gotta have, you could argue. Well, not you couldn't even argue. I think it's pretty clear. He's the fourth best quarterback in that division. I mean, I think Jimmy G's better than he was or he is.
I thought he was like one of the first 5 quarterbacks in the league last year.
Oh,
so
easily.
I mean, you can only go up.
So we'll find out. It's going to be it's that time of the year. We're getting into August. Start figuring out what's going to happen here with some of these teams, and cannot wait. Obviously, we'll be doing the Halterman and I are in the fantasy league together in that as well. You're looking at the championship matchup from last year right here. So let's see if we can bring it back, Halterman. But yeah, cannot wait, obviously, for the Chiefs as well to defend their Super Bowl. All right. Plenty coming up later for Halterman and Papa Dude on Dudes Who Bet. Stay tuned for that. I'm Jared Welch. He's Aaron Halterman. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on Blinkers Off. Good luck this weekend.